What is your Tinder horror story? He told me he's not gay but he prefers to have sex with men and prefers to be on the bottom. I asked if he was bi and he said no, I'm straight, I just like getting ducked in the ass. And then he asked me if he could pee in my butt cause he's always wanted to try it but he won't top guys so he can't find out how it feels. He's the head football coach of a private college in my state and that made it even weirder somehow. Edit. Just wanna add that I'm a woman and not a gay man at all, LMAO. Public service announcement. It's not gay if you say no homo afterwards. It's not before? Shit. I messaged a girl who wanted to meet up, so I go out to the coffee shop and she's not there. I ask her what's up and she totally admits to being a dude catfishing me just so he could check me out in public, and goes on a rant about what a shame it is that I'm a lesbian because he'd totally duck me. I feel like the creepiest part for me was that he never once tried to get nudes or anything, which I'd at least understand the effort for, he just wanted to stare at me in public. That is alarming. I've been waiting for the right thread for this. After a movie date with a guy the first met on Tinder, we came back to my place. We'll call him Dude. I told him we could hang for a bit but I have work in the morning so I would need to go to sleep soon. Dude said that was fine, but he was hungry and he was going to order food. Okay, sure. Dude orders 2 large subs from Potbelly and a milkshake. Downs it. No judgment, he's 6'4", 210 pounds, younger, still growing, by all means. I didn't think anything of it until later. We end up messing around a bit and fall asleep in bed. I wake up to my front door opening and closing several times over a 5-minute period. My dogs are going nuts, and it's 1 a.m. What the heck is this guy doing? I open the door to my room that opens up to the rest of my apartment, and my bathroom is to the left where the light is on and the door is wide open. I walk around the corner to make eye contact with Dude, who is in a squatting position over my toilet, with a stick poking around in murky brown poop water that is millimeters from overflowing onto my bathroom floor. Horrified, he yells, "Stop looking at me. Go back to bed. I have it under control." I'm still waking up trying to understand what I'm seeing and what's going on, and I just start nervous laughing. I don't know what else to do. He yells, "Why don't you have a plunger?" And I said I don't know, I never needed one until now. He tells me to go back to bed, he has it under control. I'm so disturbed, tired, can't process what's happening and have work in the morning. I go back to bed. I remember hearing him peek in my room a bit later and heard, "I fixed it." And then heard him leave and my door close behind him. The next morning, I hesitantly approach my toilet to find the water is down. But there is something poking out from the bottom of the toilet like he didn't get it all. Upon further inspection, what I was seeing was the tip of a stick. Some gloves, towels and barbecue tongues later, I pulled out approximately 3 foot of stick from my toilet that had broke off, followed by several other stick fragments. Dude had broke several sticks. I heard my door open and close so much, because he was going outside to look for a stick, one would break, he'd go get another. Dude had left drippy poop water stains all over my bathroom floor. He also left my apartment so fast, that he left his underwear, and undershirt and socks. After work that day, I went straight to the store and bought a plunger. Lesson learned. Not me, my dad. Not Tinder either, it was Match.com. My dad had been on Match for about 3 months with some success. He's a tall Australian man who's decent looking, so he had some interest. One weekend he got sent his first nude, which he thought had strange, but brushed it off. Later that week he got 6 more nudes from the same woman. Before he blocked her, he decided that he would open them just for kicks. 5 of the pictures are just straight up vag shots, which he said were incredibly unappealing and had terrible lighting. The 6th picture, however, was something different. The woman was standing in her bra in front of a mirror, puss out, winking, with a bunch of herbs shoved in her bra. Basil, parsley, thyme, all that good stuff. The caption on the picture was "Spice Rack." She was swiftly blocked after my dad stopped laughing long enough to find the block button. Has your dad ever recovered from being out dad joked by a stranger on a dating site? Well, he did insult someone's tomato garden the other day. A woman sent him a photo of her tomato plant and he messaged her back saying that tomato looks like it has an STD. Shitty tomato disease. He was howling on the couch for a while after that. A chick said she was having a work party at her house and I should come over. It's Bayab, so I bought a 6-pack for myself. Went to her place and noticed more than half of the people were younger, 17 to 18, while I was 21 and the girl was also 21. Then they gathered everyone in the living room and proceed to talk about the job. Turns out it was one of those pyramid scheme recruiting gatherings. I just sat there drinking my beer, only one drinking, for 2 hours because I thought it was rude to leave because they were telling sob stories and saying how much this job had helped them. Sat there listening to some head of the group guy saying how we can make millions in a short amount of time. Saying bullcrap like you see my BMW 3 Series out front? That's a company car that you can drive around in, if you do what we do. It was sad because they were trapping low-income teens that are deciding not to go to college and to join them. After the pitch, I pretty much had enough and was preparing to leave. Then the girl came up to me and asked what I thought and I just said it's not for me and I am leaving. She asked if I wanted to take my beer and I said they needed it more than I did. 2 or 3 weeks later she sent me a text, unfortunately we exchanged numbers, asking if the head of the group guy can call me and ask me questions on why I am not signing up and how I thought the group session went. I didn't reply but sure enough the dude called me and I politely said it's not for me but he kept pushing. Finally I had to tell him to duck off. And that was the end of that. Never went to work parties for a Tinder date again. It was a complete crap show and if it wasn't for the beer I brought or the Tinder date's dog, I would have just left. Looking back on it, during the pitch, the head of the group guy said at one point if you're not interested in making $1 million, you can just leave, no one's stopping you. I really wish I stood up, chugged my beer and said duck this crap, you guys are all stupid and no one should be joining, you will ruin your lives and walk out. But that's just a daydream I have in the shower. Oh, I have one where I was probably the nightmare. I went on a first date with a girl from Tinder at a Cajun restaurant in Dallas. The restaurant was the Razzoos on 75. I had read recently about some stuff called kratom, that is supposed to make you feel really relaxed and euphoric, and I had tried to make a tea from the recommended dosage the previous day, but I didn't feel anything off of it. So I figured if this stuff was supposed to make you be cool and euphoric then the best time to take it would be for a first date. And since I didn't feel anything from it the first time I figured I should take more. So I wrapped a lot of it, kratom is usually sold as a greenish, super bitter powder, up inside of balls of deli meat and swallowed those whole before the date. I then went to the lunch feeling nothing, until I met the girl and sat down, at which point I suddenly came to the realization that I was a few seconds away from projectile vomiting up all that kratom and deli meat in the middle of the restaurant. I excused myself, got up from the table, walked a few steps towards the bathroom until I began to violently vomit. At which point I covered my mouth with my hands, began choking on my own vomit as I sprinted towards the bathroom, leaked a trail of vomit all over the floor in a path towards the bathroom, then continued to violently projectile vomit into the trash can in the bathroom. I then spent a while to clean my face and wash my arms and hands which were soaked in vomit. I then returned to the table and tried to survive the rest of the lunch date without dying of embarrassment. I felt like a huge asshole and was really embarrassed. So I met this girl on Tinder and went for a lunch date. We had a pretty good connection so we decided to have dinner as well. After having a few drinks one thing led to another and ended up back at my place, we hooked up and went to sleep. Middle the night I wake up. She's intensely staring at me while she's crouched behind the bed. I asked her if everything is alright, she said yes and got back into bed. I thought little creepy, but probably nothing to worry about. She lays down to cuddle with me and she's wet. At the time, I was like damn I must just be a stallion. Fast forward to the morning, she's gone and there's a wet puddle beside the bed. She peed on my floor. I still don't understand it. I had a bathroom, but maybe she just got lost and couldn't hold it? I did not hear from her again. Edit. Just want to be clear, we were both tipsy, and not sloppy drunk. Chatted with this girl for about 2 weeks. Every conversation went well and eventually I got her number and she started sharing nudes and speaking dirty. Late on evening after a stressful work day she talks me into driving an hour to come get coffee with her. She spends the next hour and a half non-stop talking about her ex and how she has to see him at the bank and all this personal upset ex-girlfriend stuff. She cuts me off anytime I try to speak or change the subject right back to him. A day later I get a text about how I didn't do any talking and I was too boring to be anything more than just friends with. She got irate when I pointed out she would not allow me to speak and only wanted to talk about her ex-boyfriend when we have never once had a slow or boring conversation before meeting up. Let's go hunting. Can I have a gun? No, you don't get to have one. I am never inviting you hunting again, you didn't shoot anything. You were supposed to catch them with your bare hands. I matched with a girl and sent a lot of messages. Later that night we talked on the phone and the conversation was going really well, so I asked to go out the next night. She agreed, and then 5 minutes later she tells me that needs to tell me something. She tells me that she's permanently in a wheelchair. So I am either an a-hole if I back out now or an a-hole if I lead her on. I figure why not, it's just a date and it could be a fun time still. We talk more that night and go to bed. The next morning she calls me early and tells me she's doing something crazy. She won't tell me what, but she said she'll show me later. A few hours goes by and she calls me back and tells me she's going to send me a pic of what she did. I check my messages and I see a picture of her wrist, with my name now tattooed on it. We end the call and I immediately tell my friends about this crazy girl. Later that night I am driving to her place cause I figure, she can be committed enough to tattoo my name on her, I should be committed enough to go on this date. Plus I have to know it's real. I am almost at her place and I realize that my car may not accommodate her wheelchair, and I know she drives, so I ask if she can drive us. I am walking in the parking lot and she drives up and I get in the car. Now I had figured she had a handicapped-enabled car. Nope. Turns out she just uses 2 crutches to drive, one on the gas and one on the brake. I don't like this as we're driving on the Southern California freeways in traffic. We go eat and she gets a phone call from her daughter. Turns out she left her 10-year-old daughter at home alone and she's scared. I am like, hey, we can go. But she's like, no, it's okay, I gave her something to make her sleep, she'll be asleep soon. So we finish up and I was gonna take her to see a movie, but the kid thing was too much, so we head home and my fingers are already crossed that we make it when she turns to me while driving and says, wow, I am kinda drunk. In my head I am like, 1 drink is all you had. But I ask if I can drive and she says no, she's gonna get in the fast lane and uses her crutch to hit the gas. I say my last prayers, but we made it back to her place. So I wheeled her back to her door, said goodbye and lived. Tattoo was real though. What the hell? This is the story that made me comment, but do you guys have no survivor instinct? Talked to him for 2 weeks before we went out and no red flags, so we ended up going out to dinner. I said I hadn't been out in a while because I was trying to save money for a washer and dryer. He told me instead of saving for that I should save for a boob job. I didn't even know how to reply, so he followed up with, no, it's not a bad thing, my sister and mom both had small tits and got boob jobs and they look amazing. This is all before the waitress even brought our drinks. I just got up and left. Maybe he should just go sleep with his mother and sister then. Maybe he already did. First date, she wanted me to get into a bar fight with the perfectly friendly guy who'd bought us a round of shots that night. Why? Because she found out he was a Scorpio. Astrology chicks are crazy. I'm replying, so my GF reads your comment.